Hello, kids, and welcome to another episode of the VGF Strat Corner podcast. Unfortunately, my lovely co-host Dan is nowhere to be found. I'm not sure where he is right now, but that's okay because we have an awesome replacement all the way from the UK. We got a little international flavor today. The Dinosaur. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad. Well, it's exciting to have you on the podcast. We have had some guests, but everybody's been from the U.S. so far, so it's going to be really interesting to hear your thoughts on stuff and get your voice out there. So
I'll do my best.
Awesome. Well, before we get into the actual Tekken talk, give people out there a little bit of background. You don't have to go too in depth, but let people know who you are and what kind of stuff you play and why they should know you.
Okay, basically I've been playing since, well, the Tekken I started with was Tekken 3, but, it was just standard, hitting the buttons, flip kicks with law, that kind of thing. I only really played seriously in, Tekken Tag, but, I wasn't very good at it. Kind of played with, Ryan Hart, Starscream, people like Shinjin, in London, and I basically didn't.
If you're going to play that game, that's the crew to have for sure.
Yep. It was a pretty steep learning curve. I mean, I remember one time I was in the arcade and I was doing King's Rolling Death Cradle, and I thought I was the shit. And I was doing this on the computer, and this skinny white dude sits next to me, and I'm thinking, actually, literally thought, didn't you see me just doing the Rolling Death Cradle?
Why would you sit down?
Why would you try and challenge me? And obviously I got completely destroyed.
Okay.
So yeah, I've basically been playing since then, kind of on and off. I wasn't really that present in during Tekken 4 because I was at a university that wasn't in London, and there wasn't really that much of a strong scene for it out there. But other than that, I've been playing fairly consistently since then. Kind of do okay in tournaments. Some people might have heard of me in Europe, I guess. And yeah, that's basically about it.
Well, yeah, I know you're a mod on TZ, so any of the TZ trolls that are out there hopefully have seen your name, know what's up. But so do you guys how's the scene out there right now? Is it okay? Because I haven't heard about. We've mentioned it on the podcast a few times, but I haven't heard from anything from Ryan Hart or any of those guys forever.
I'd say, the scene at the moment, I would say it's in a state of transition. Because, and this I'd say would probably go for Europe, more than, as well as just the UK. Europe's very similar. It's going through a very similar thing in that, a lot of our top players just aren't really playing the game. Or they're not playing it terribly seriously. Pretty much everyone who was considered to be top tier in the Tekken 5s, 5 and DR, they're not really playing anymore. So or if they are, they're not playing, as heavily as they were. It's Steve 88, Genius, Ryan, Starscream, Cobra Commander, Devil, Matt. It was generally out of almost all the top players, no one takes it as seriously as they did, and some people don't play at all. But
everybody's waiting for that tag too.
I guess so, yeah. So I'd say that the level in Europe has dropped a bit since Tekken 5 DR, but there is kind of a wave. There's kind of a wave of new players that's coming up right now. And I'd especially say this for the UK because a few guys, Imperial, Shadow Force, Zero, and Inti in London are running this tournament called Tekken Force, and they run it every month, and it's working really well. They've got the support. They're collaborating with Namco. We've had senior Namco executive from Japan come down to it, and so they've managed to make this kind of regular event for people to turn up to, and it's one it's getting through to everyone. You know, a lot of the time, if you run tournaments, it doesn't get through to online players. You know, you basically get the same people you always got turning up to it. But this is just that tournament they're running just keeps going from strength to strength. And I think whilst the players who are coming up, they're still a step behind the old players, even though the old players aren't as keen. I think there's definitely going to be a time when, you know, when they get really good.
Nice, very nice. Yeah, I've seen some videos of the Tekken 4 stuff. I know Eris puts up some stuff every once in a while on avoiding the puddle. So, yeah, it's nice to see that you guys have at least something.
Yeah.
Our scene here is starting to die around the U.S. It's like slowly just like coming to a stop until Tag 2 comes out. But
yeah, I can definitely see that. I mean, I think the problem with the kind of scenes as the way they normally are for fighting games is that they're very much reliant on hype and kind of an influx of new players. You know, there's very much a kind of, here is the start of the game, here's when there's hundreds of people turning up to it, and then it's just a slow decline. Because if you're running kind of big events, you need to guarantee a certain number of people turning up. And like the more kind of unpopular a game gets, the less guaranteed it is that you have those many people turning up to it, and so the less likely people are to turn up. I think like the traditional model of how to maintain a community, like with, you know, the big events, your EVOs and your SVBs and that kind of thing, it doesn't work quite as much as setting up. It's too reliant on the game being new and having an influx of kind of new players. I think the model that the guys are doing for Tekken Force, with like something new every week, I mean every month, you know, it's got a steady thing that everyone can turn up to, it's got a strong like social media thing. They've got it advertised on Facebook, they've got it advertised through Namco and through Gamerbase, which is our local gaming place, all this kind of thing. I think that works better as far as the model for getting people to keep playing goes.
Yeah, it's a shame that Tekken's starting to slow down, because like all the 2D games, those are starting to pick up. And I noticed, like, I run a monthly here for our local scene. It just keeps growing and getting bigger every month, and we're starting to run out of space.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem, because you have like all these 2D kids that want to play this game and this game and this game, and you just can't get to them all. But
yeah, I mean, yeah, the 2D scene does seem to be going really strong. I mean, partially because, you know, there are so many new games, and
there's a new Street Fighter every other month.
Yeah, there's a new Street Fighter every other month. Everyone started playing Street Fighter, then the people who were bored with that could suddenly switch to, you know, they were like, this is too boring, it's too defensive, here comes Marvel. You know, people play Marvel, you're pissed off with the damage.
And then they go to Mortal Kombat.
You're really frustrated with those, you think, why don't I try Street Fighter again?
Yeah, cycle of death. Ugh,
yeah.
CDs. How it goes. Okay, so question, because I don't know if I remember hearing about this or not, but I know that for sure the U.S. is not going to get Tekken Tag 2 in the arcades. Are there any plans, you know, for Europe or the UK? Are they supposed to send it out there?
I'm pretty sure we don't get it either. As far as I'm aware, it's just like Asia, kind of Oceania, you know, the kind of the Pacific Basin type, and so it's like Japan, the Philippines, Australia, New Zealand. I don't know whether like China gets it. I assume they do.
Fucking bad.
So yeah.
Can't believe they get that shit. I think they're scared. I think that's what it is. Okay, we need like a 3-month head start, guys.
Yeah. we thought all those U.S. tournaments would be free money.
Yeah. Well, I guess, I mean, in the 2Ds, it'll always be that way. But it's going to be that way until Daigo dies, so or retires, whichever comes.
On the way, wasn't there like a brief time when he was losing to, when he kept losing to Justin Wong or something? I mean, I think.
I don't know. I'm like,
I don't really know.
I'm not too up to date on like the 2D folklore, but I know that they came. I there were a few Japanese players that came not too long ago to the U.S. I want to say like last month or so for some tournaments, and they placed in all of them. So I think Daigo got for, well, I think they all took the Street Fighter, whichever tournaments they went to, they took Street Fighter. I think one of them won the MK tournament. Not sure how they did Marvel, I can't remember. But apparently they're pretty good in Marvel too, which is totally weird because that's always been a U.S. game. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because we're fucking cheap as shit. We are the cheapest. You can't beat America at a cheap game. We're too good at breaking it. But if it's straight up, then we're just like average. That's how it goes. All right, well, let's talk some fucking Bryan then, if you're good with that.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, so you're a pretty decent player in your own right. Then what I've been doing is kind of pawning off our initial jumpstart to the discussion on our guests. So I'll put it to you this way: Bryan Fury in Tekken 6. Like, what do you see his strengths as and his weaknesses? Like, since you're a Bryan player, like, what should you be focusing on if you're playing him, and what should you be focusing on if you're playing against him?
Well, as to how, firstly, you gotta, how good is Bryan? I'd say Bryan is probably, potential-wise on paper, and in some ways, practically, he's the best character in the game.
Well, when T6 first came out, for a long time, I thought he was number one. I still definitely think he's top tier. But there's some other characters that have kind of shown me their cheapness, so I kind of backed off the Bryan train. But yeah.
Well, the interesting thing was when Bryan first came out, and when Tekken 6 Bloodline Rebellion, the arcade update from 6.0, when it first came out, everyone was saying Lee, Lars, Lauren, and Lily. These were all, these were the four characters that everyone was top tier, and everyone was complaining about how cheap these characters were. These are people with arcade scenes. yeah, really. Though he was considered top tier for I know it seems dumb at the time, and because all these characters who were considered, all the characters who were top tier before had got hard nerfs. Devil Jin's Hell Sweep didn't knock down anymore, and Kazuya just had every move raped, and and Bob, no more down forward 2 on normal hit, no more juggling Hell Sweep, all that kind of crap.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I remember the Bryan players, we were all quite confused. We were he doesn't seem to have been nerfed at all. He was pretty good in Tekken 6. I can see him being really good in this game, and everyone was talking about Lee, and I was just thinking, Bryan's only significant nerf is he lost a couple of frames off his low soccer kick, and in fact, as it turned out, the little buffs that he got in that game were also really good. So he wasn't. A lot of people, when the game first came out, he wasn't considered top tier at all, which was quite strange. But yeah, so let's see, what does Bryan do well? He controls space really well. He can hit you from fucking miles away. He's got back one, soccer kick, low soccer kick.
Cheap. That move has always been cheap.
It's kind of one of those things where it got worse up to a certain point, and then they just left it. I mean, it's still, it's weird because you get different styles of Bryan, and Japanese people are really good at using back one, but I can't really make that move work for me much. Mostly I rely on the soccer kick and both kicks. But yeah, so basically he can hit you from really far away, and when he hits you from really far away, he can do a ton of damage off it. He's got he's really hard to sidestep on a lot of his stuff. He's got that down forward 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 2 string.
I love that string. That's whenever I play Bryan, that's all I do the whole fucking match. I'm I'm just gonna play this mix up.
Exactly. You're just down forward 1 1 and then you stop. Yeah, it's K.
It is.
That's really hard to sidestep. he's got like both punches, which tracks both sides. He's got a really damaging homing move in forward, forward, 4, which also goes around stuff. He's got like all his lows are ready after sidestep. So basically, he can hit you from really far away and control space really well, and you can't really step around him that easily. So he basically, as far as like a stepping and a kind of controlling space match goes, he's amazing. He has like his juggle damage is good but not spectacular. But
yeah, I noticed that like if you want to get like the really really high damage shit, you have to like either have the perfect situation or be like a master of just frames.
Yeah, most of his juggles aren't fantastic, but if he gets you to the wall, he does he'll do less damage than Bruce or Lars, but it doesn't really matter because as soon as he gets someone to the wall, they're in a situation where they're completely fucked. If you tech roll, you're generally dead. So
yeah, dude, fucking time. I mean, always have to be wary of that.
Yeah. Exactly. So even his open ground guesses off juggles. He has like literally the best open ground guessing game you can get after juggles, where he can pick up at people again with down back 2, or he can tech roll catch with taunt.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing that's kind of funny because people will kind of bitch about that sometimes. They're like, oh, well, juggle damage is this. And, one of the big, we've had this discussion a few times before about, like, Fang. Like, a lot of people think Fang is not very good, and one of the big reasons is juggle damage. But he has a tech catch, so he has, like, this potential for mass damage. Not quite as reliable as Bryan's taunt, but, it's still there. So you gotta be careful about that, and especially when taunt is so prevalent.
Yeah.
Everybody uses taunt.
Exactly. Well, the thing that makes Bryan's guess so disgusting is that there's no if you want to go for the pickup or the taunt. And for anyone who doesn't know this, basically, if you do a juggle with Bryan, you can stop it short, and you can basically, if you do a delayed down back 2 or a little dash into a down back 2, it'll pick up the opponent if they don't tech roll, reset, push back, and damage scaling. So he basically gets a full mini juggle from that down back 2. And if they tech roll, he can taunt them, and depending on your execution, get a hell of a lot of damage.
Yeah, maybe you're doing another juggle. Yeah.
Yep, if you're good enough, you get taunt jet upper, and there's that YouTube video of me versus MYK where he does it 3 times in a row.
Oh my god, so nasty. So nasty.
And the thing that makes that guess disgusting is that there's no penalties for doing the wrong thing. If you think they're going to tech roll and you taunt and they don't tech roll, you just cancel the taunt and you can still mix them up and when they're trying to stand up. If you think that if they do tech roll and you go for the down back 3, you are completely safe. You go for the down back 2, you're completely safe.
Yep.
It has no it's a kind of the only disadvantages to that guess are kind of the technical barriers, and there are more technical barriers to it than initially appear, because whether you can get the taunt or the down back 2 and the follow-up juggles, it all depends on the axis of the ender you hit them with and where you were in the juggle, and it's pretty damn hard to do, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
So basically, that's what Bryan's good at. He's got decent punishing. He doesn't really struggle to punish any moves. There's nothing that people can spam against him because he's unable to punish it on block. He's not the greatest at punishing some things. He doesn't have great jab punishment. Doesn't have spectacular while standing punishment. But
he still gets the job done. Yeah.
Yeah, he gets the job done.
And for those, I was actually trying to run through the punishment list before we started because. I'm pretty simple. I just find stuff that's really easy to remember. So at 10 frames, I usually do 2-3, and then I just do 4-3 at 12. And then is 1+2 the best option at 14, or does he have something else?
He's got jet upper at 14.
Oh yeah, dirt. But I guess that goes has the potential to go over some stuff. But yeah, definitely jet upper for sure.
In fact, like jet upper punishes pretty much everything that's minus 14. Like even if they recover in crouch, like law split kick stuff and that kind of thing, because it's one of those it's one of those highs with a really fat hitbox. It's not quite electric fat, but it's
Bad
like
enough.
I mean, the stuff that it'll miss on is certain whiffed moves, like if you don't time it, you have to time it right, and things like Lars' up forward 3. There's kind of certain things where they'll recover in weird super low crouches where jet up will just go over their head.
Weird. Yeah, that's goofy, but that's okay. I guess if it works 90% of the time, why not do it?
Yep.
Yeah, I guess one of the big downsides to Bryan, because we were talking about taunts, and Dan has mentioned this a few times, but I guess one of the big downsides is that he gets counter hit if he's doing the taunt, which can be really dangerous. So if you're really on your toes, you can get around it. But yeah, like, because we've tried to have this discussion a few times, but because I never really saw anything like any big negatives about Bryan, like because he's really mid heavy, I think.
Yep.
So I mean, he doesn't really have a problem with people ducking. You know, you mentioned the tracking earlier. You know, he has no problems really catching people who are trying to get around him. Like really, the only thing you can do is just kind of sit there and take his pokes. Hopefully you guess a taunt and you get a counter hit, or you can sit there and kind of wait for the big stuff, like a soccer kick, and then punish and go into your own game. But I never really, I guess his grabs aren't the best, but I don't know. I always love doing forward, and then a normal grab, because people love to try to watch that dash motion, but I mean, that would be the only other thing I can think of is like his grab game is weak. But
I'd say kind of he's not like the greatest at shutting down at killing turtles, like really hardcore turtles, because like he's actually pretty damn good at that, you know. Like taunt. The thing is that taunt is very much kind of a psychological tool rather than a practical tool for actually breaking down someone who's blocking, because like if you actually try and dash up in someone's face who's blocking, like just due to the fact that they're holding back, it's almost impossible to get a taunt on them. When you see a Bryan player actually dash up in someone's face, you know, doing tons of taunts and like taunting in their face, what happens invariably is that the other person gets scared and presses buttons.
Yeah.
If you actually hold back the whole time and you literally let Bryan just run up in your face and try and taunt you, it doesn't really work. Most of the time, people like Knee or Mr. Naps or, you know, someone who's good at using taunt lands it in an open match against another person. It's when the other person missed a move, like they missed something, and like Mr. Knee thought they couldn't, didn't quite have time to punish it with jet upper or whatever, so he dashed in and did taunt. You need kind of that extra recovery time of missed moves in order to really practically use taunt to break people down. But it still scares everyone, so it doesn't really matter.
Oh yeah, it definitely scares everyone for sure.
I'd say and the other thing is that you can get counter hit out of taunt, but the thing is that taunt isn't. You don't need to use it in the open that much. You know, there's a lot of Bryans who just don't use it when they're likely to get counter hit out of it. In fact, most of them, because it's quite, as you said, it's like quite a hard and it's quite a difficult and quite a scary way to play. If you're going to be like running up and doing a move that gets you counter hit.
Yeah.
I guess his weakness, I'd say, is his. He's not really great at getting people off him. Like.
That's true. No big panic buttons.
Yep. He doesn't have like one of the stupid Dragon Punch moves that they put into Tekken 6, which go through everything and launch. You know, like he doesn't have a Lars up forward 3, a Steve Dragon Punch. A Asuka like back 3. He doesn't have one of those. He doesn't have like a generic down forward 2 or hop kick. Because like a lot of the time, if you're involved in a poking war with the character, you just want to be able to go like side step down forward 2, side step hop kick. You know, just like mash out one of these moves because you know it might not work, but then again, if it does, you win.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just one of those, fuck off moves. Like I have it,
Yep.
and I have it, so you need to be careful.
Exactly. So, it's just something for forcing kind of, doesn't really have that much to force respect kind of up close. He's got a magic 4. He's got like a 12 frame forward with like nice range.
And we love our magic
kind of
4s here. We have,
Yep.
both Dan and I are of the opinion that if you're going to be a top tier character, you need to have a magic 4 or something like it. And
Yep.
yeah, and he has one for sure.
And it is very good. In that it gives a good juggle into his silly guessing games, but it's quite hard to get that juggle, but kind of magical theory fighter land where no one ever misses everything.
Yeah.
Like he's got a magic 4 which does lots of damage, but that's kind of it. That's kind of it for his panic buttons. His magic 4. He's got those count hit jab strings, forward 1-4, forward 1-2-1. And all of those are guaranteed on counter hit, and he's got while standing 3, which is awesome.
Well, yeah,
but it
juggles on counter hits. So.
Yeah, but it kind of fills a different space that kind of down forward 2s and stuff like that. Fill. But I mean, so that's basically what I'd consider his weakness, and it's not a huge one, to be honest. I think.
Well, I think it kind of plays into the whole mind game strategy of Bryan Fury. Like, unlike some other characters who, like a Steve, who can just kind of sit there and back one all day. Bryan has to actually guess the opponent, but if you're on, like, even if they're rushing you down, he has those crush options that are going to get you killed. So, I mean, they're not panic buttons per se, but they're still good. They're still good enough, so.
Yeah, I think he's definitely about kind of maintaining that. He needs to maintain that kind of distance for the both kicks, for the soccer kick, for the forward 4. He really shines at mid range. Up close, he's merely good. At a long distance, at a long range, he's probably the best character. He's probably the best character in the game at like mid to long range, apart from maybe like Devil Jin or something. But even so, I'd say probably Bryan's slightly better.
But yeah, and all of his pokes seem to go really, really, really far too. Like 1-4. I mean, that's way farther than it probably should. 3+4. You mentioned that earlier. That move is fucking stupid.
Yep. So yeah, that's basically and his other weaknesses, of course, that he's really hard to use. Like,
yeah.
He has like a ton of hard things to learn about him. Like, a lot of people say he's hard to use because of taunt, but that's basically just kind of the tip of the iceberg, and that's really hard. Like, taunt jet upper is, it's one of the hardest things to do in Tekken.
Yeah, I never even do it. If I'm playing Bryan, I usually just do 2-4 because I'm a fucking cheesy, scrub. So.
Yeah, I fucking suck ass at taunt jet upper. Like, I just don't have the time to like literally spend, an hour or 2 a day just going into practice mode and trying to learn that shit.
Yeah, some people are just naturally gifted, I guess.
Yeah. Yep. Just don't have the execution. And he's got tons of other stuff that's pretty hard. Back 4 Mac breaker. It's possible to get it reliable, but it's pretty hard. What else? His magic 4 combo. His harder combos, generally the ones involving forward 4, can be quite tricky to get down. But yeah, it's basically that, and the fact that he doesn't really have, like I said, he doesn't really have kind of a spammy mid launcher, or like a generic down forward 1, or, he's a kind of a very unorthodox character in a way. He's unorthodox, but he doesn't have trickery, if that makes any sense. Like, he doesn't have crazy stance mix-ups or anything like that. But then again, you can't just play him by relying on, like, down forward 2, hop, kick, jabs, down forward 1, and sweep, like you can with a few characters.
Yeah, I like that description a lot. I think that wraps like kind of defines him pretty well. Where he's unorthodox, but he's not gimmicky.
Yeah,
and I think for those out there who are like not really familiar with Bryan, don't play him, don't play against him, whatever it is. Like that's a really really good. I like that. That's a really good way to think about him. So he's really unorthodox. He's got a lot of unique shit that a lot of other characters don't. But at the same time, you're not going to see crazy stance crap. So.
Yep, doesn't have many, like, weird Bob-esque strings where you're like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, it's all just, like, meat and potato stuff backed up, but none of it's exactly like what other characters have, and it's also backed up by, like, the taunt, which is obviously something which no other character has.
Yeah.
So I think you just need really strong fundamentals and strong defense with him because he's not that great up close, and everyone's going to want to stop you from establishing that long range. But you're going to need to be able to survive up close just by blocking a lot of the time, and you're going to need to be able to survive in close until you can kind of push them out and establish your range again.
Yeah, I like that. I have a little bit of an issue whenever I play Bryan because I always find these weird, stupid like shortcuts to shit. And when I do a backdash cancel, I'm actually just doing a backwards wave dash. That's all I'm doing is a wave dash, and I keep getting sways. So I'm like, fuck, I need to stop doing that.
Yep. And then, a lot of people out there, if you want to learn like Bryan or Paul or basically any character with a back sway,
you have to do it proper.
Make sure you learn like back, down, back, don't hit down, because otherwise you're gonna stop and die.
Yeah, that sway will get you killed. You're not prepared to be using it. So, so one thing I did want to ask because I play Bryan, but just kind of casually. I see him play and everything. How good is his wall carry? I know his wall game is solid, especially since you force all those mix-ups with the taunts and everything. But I was like trying to rack my brain of like certain wall carriages. I mean, he would like based on some of his strings, you would think he would do like pretty good wall carry and he'd be pretty good at it. But I'm actually not 100% sure. For whatever reason, I don't see a lot of like wall carry juggles with him.
I'd say as far as wall carry goes, he's good. He's not top tier. There's like a few characters who can just juggle you from anywhere and get like their maximum damage wall combo. They'll always get you to the wall. There's basically like he can't take you as far as Lee, Bruce. I mean, one of the interesting things is that people don't really consider Law to be a character with particularly good wall carry.
But Law is really good.
Yeah, Law actually has kind of in pretty much most situations he has longer practical wall carry than Bryan does. For example, if Bryan launches you from the start of like Lightning Storm with most of his standard launches, he can't actually get you to the wall. He can't quite get a wall combo. He can do it with Jet Upper, and I think he might be able to do it off it with like he might be able to get it with like one specific combo off while standing one. But he can't. But most of the time, he kind of his combos will just fall short. Like Law, Steve, Lee, Nina, Bruce. These characters will get you to the wall in Lightning Storm every time from the start of the round. And that's kind of my completely random criteria for who's top tier at wall carry. Lightning Storm from the beginning.
Oh, all right. Okay, so explain this to people who might not know what Lightning Storm is.
It's basically like it's the biggest standard stage with walls in the game. So essentially, when you start the match, it says round 1. If you land a juggle at the start of the round, if you land like a juggle starter, one of the really good characters at wall carry can carry you right to the wall, get a full wall combo. And characters like Bryan,
which is pretty
King,
crucial because there's a couple other stages that are about the same size as Lightning Storm. So if you can get that right off the bat, I mean that's round 1. Gone.
I think Lightning Storm is actually like the biggest. The only one that's bigger is that church. like that church where you go through the floor, like whichever the one it is.
Because it's lower on the bottom, or bigger on the bottom.
Yeah, it's fucking huge on the bottom.
Is Lightning Storm bigger than the Fountain? I thought they were the same size. Oh, it is.
Yep,
Wow.
Lightning Storm is bigger. Yeah.
Actually,
yeah, Bryan. Yep, Bryan gets a full like wall juggle on. It's one of these weird things. It's stuff that you end up noticing just because it only affects your character.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, that happens a lot. You're like, fuck, every other character gets this advantage. Why don't I?
Yep.
Nice. So, okay, well, I think we covered most of this stuff. Oh, one thing we should, even though, we talked a little bit about the juggles and the juggle damage. Even though his juggle damage, I would define it probably as good. It's not the best, that's not the worst. But his overall damage is spectacular. And that's one thing that I think we should mention for any of those Bryan noobs out there. Like, even though your juggles may not be doing the best damage, all of his pokes do really good damage. He's so hit heavy. You soccer kicks, both versions of them do really good damage.
That's the thing, like, if they're sidestepping and they get hit by down forward 1, and you get all the time in the world to confirm all the hits of that move. So that's like a huge chunk for a like 15 frame poke.
Yeah.
That does like and I've had people be very upset. Like when I'm on rage at the end of the round and I land 1 down forward 1 and then they just have to watch as the rest of it just goes down forward 1, 1, 1, 1, 2.
Yeah.
And like the last hit takes off that chunk of damage. And, so just his standalone stuff does a lot of damage, like, he's got 1 and 2, 2, which is also a great kind of panicky tracking move, depending on what character you're using it against. Because it's minus 14 on block, so some characters can really hurt you for it, and some characters just can't do jack about it. Like I said, his other tracking move, forward, forward, 4, like, that does a shitload of damage.
I love forward. I've always, since they gave him that move, I've loved that.
Yeah.
And he sidesteps with it. Oh, so
yeah. We called it. It's called Ethnic Cleanser in London. That was what.
Oh my God! Tell me there's a backstory to that.
It was just some guy, it's just one of those random moves where, like, once someone was playing tag, like, one day, and, we had a, like, chef, one of our, the Bryan, who's a guy who's played Bryan for ages, he was using Bryan, and I'm pretty sure, someone he's like, that move, and some guy was like, that move, that's Ethnic Cleanser. And just to, I saw that move's Ethnic Cleanser now.
Oh, that's awesome. That's such a great move name. We love our move names here on the Street Corner podcast, and that's a good one. I'm going to have to remember that one.
And just so people, the guy was black, so it's not like he was like some kind of national front, British National Party kind of Bryan skinhead fan.
Oh, whatever. We don't care. We don't care where it comes from.
It doesn't really matter.
It's good either way. Oh man.
But yeah, and like back 4, forward, forward 2 with Bryan does like 60 points of damage for a safe mid that will splat you on the wall.
So stupid.
So yeah, I mean, so he's got a few, I'd say he has a few characters that he kind of struggles a bit against. I'd say his hardest matchups would probably be like Steve and Eddie. Because he's really good at Bryan's good at controlling space. He needs to be able to sidestep things, and sidestepping against those characters is pointless.
Yeah, that's true.
It's pointless, and they've kind of got stuff up close, which is better than his stuff up close. And they're not shabby at long range at all. They're not like, like Eddie has up and 4 and sidestep 4 and all that kind of crap, and Steve has quarter circle forward 1, albatross 2, and the ever-present, and down forward 2 and the ever-present back 1. So, yeah, that's basically what I'd say. So.
That's weird. You'd think Eddie or that Bryan would have tools to deal with Eddie. I mean, maybe not up close, but I don't know. That's weird. That almost seems weird to me. But.
Well, you'd think that, like, with all his stuff kind of hitting close to the ground, that he'd be really good at taking out relax.
Yeah.
And Eddie's stances, but the main issue I would say is that his stuff which picks up Eddie from his stances isn't quite fast enough. Like, there's a magic speed at which you need a move to be able to pick up Eddie out of his stances, and Bryan's stuff isn't quite there. I think you need a 13 frame move to pick Eddie up from most of his annoying transitions into relax. Like, if he does back 3-3 on block, if you hit him with a 13 frame move that hits relax, it'll float him out of it, and you get like a little juggle. So, like, the Williams sisters can juggle him, Bob can juggle him. Bryan's mostly just going to get a ground hit. Most characters will just get a ground hit. And, yeah, it's basically just the fact that he struggles to sidestep and kind of punish the pokes of those characters. I mean, this is just my opinion. A lot of people think Law might be a bad matchup for Bryan, but I don't actually think so. And also Nina. I don't really think those characters are bad for him because those characters aren't very good at long range. Like, Law and Nina aren't very rewarding characters outside of a certain distance. So if Bryan can keep them far away, he wins.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that for Law. No argument whatsoever. Because pretty much all he has once you get out of like range 2 is back 2-2. That's it.
Exactly. Yeah. He's got back 2-2. He can try for like a slide or a flying kick, but none of these are like quite up there in damage. Like, none of those are scary like Bryan's both kicks is at that kind of range, or soccer kick. And it's kind of the same with Nina for me. Her only real range tool is 1 and 4, which is great, but it's not super damaging. It's not like, again, if she gets into kind of a war of attrition with Bryan at long range, she's going to die, especially because she can't really punish soccer kick very reliably. So, I mean, I've seen like a few Korean match videos lately where the Bryan seem to be really struggling with Nina, so I might be completely off base.
Yeah, there's maybe always something that somebody figures out. It's like, oh, this completely changes the matchup. But.
Yeah, but I've never really been the kind of guy who kind of bases what I think how good certain characters are off how well other people can do with him. It doesn't seem like Korean Bryans are doing that well at the moment, but I still think he's the best, basically.
Yeah, no, and that's definitely a philosophy that everyone should have. It's like everyone loves to play. Like, you have people who are like your paper fighters who just do nothing but look at everybody on paper, and then you have the complete opposite where people are only looking at who's winning right now.
Yeah, and the other classic thing is obviously the thing where no one will ever accept that their character is top tier. Like no matter how good your character is, like everyone will be like, well, I play against my friend and he beats my ass all the time. So I just
this character sucks.
Like, there's no way this character's good. Like, if he was good, if he's so good, why am I losing?
Yeah. Oh man, I fucking love those people. Oh.
And you can do it for like, and again, like doing it for Korean people. Like if my character was, if Bryan's top tier, why is Knee losing? It's like because
they're all good.
Because he's getting outplayed by people.
Yeah.
Like because he's not quite playing the right way. I don't know. I mean, like. It's definitely important to not just like look at people who are better than you as the absolute apex of how to play. Like thinking, well, it's pointless me play. It's kind of that kind of attitude always makes me think. It's like it might as well be pointless to play if like there's a Korean who can do absolutely everything better than you can.
Yeah.
Like if you're just going to accept that they're the pinnacle of play, and you're never going to measure up to that.
That's one of the of all the good things that has happened with the internet and the growth of the scene and whatnot. You always have those trolls who are gonna, with internet fame the way it is right now, It's like, oh man, like Daigo, nobody can touch Daigo. Oh my God, Daigo lost. That person's the greatest. It's like, eventually there are other good players. So.
Or it's if someone did if someone did win against, a Japanese guy or a Korean guy, it's because the Korean guy was tired from his flight, or because, he wasn't taking him seriously, or, there's plenty of reason,
Yeah, he's playing a weaker character, it was a bad matchup.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. Fucking clowns. Clowns.
Yep. But, you take the good with them, take the bad with the good, I guess.
Yeah, you don't really have much of a choice, but
yeah. Like the internet's done a lot of things for fighting gaming. I mean, in some ways, it did also kind of kill. It did also kind of like kill fighting games in a certain way. It's on its way to destroying arcades.
Oh, but I don't know about you.
It's pretty much destroyed them. Yeah,
it's dead here. They're tearing down the last of them as we speak. But
yep.
I always thought that was like a uniquely American thing because we're all fucking lazy, so nobody wants to go anywhere. So, oh hey, everything's console. Why should I go anywhere? But,
oh no, there's been UK is the only place in Europe to have any arcades, and it's been like that for 8 years at least, a long ass time. We've just been. It's basically just been us, and it's basically just been 2 arcades in London, and maybe one other somewhere else, and that's for the whole of Europe.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I have a theory that if you want an arcade to work, that you have to combine it with something else. Like any of the arcades that we still have, or at least that I see that are still around, are combined with another sort of gaming entity.
Yeah.
The only arcade that we have here in town still, there's a couple of random machines that are at a movie theater, but they're all fucking trash. But aside from that, we have this big gaming place where they have mini golf and go-karts and shit. That's the only way you can make it work. You have to just accept that machine is never going to make money, but you want it there anyway. That's the only way to do it.
Yep. You have to have some guy who really likes, some bowling alley owner who really likes arcades.
Yeah, pretty much. Such a shame. But
yeah,
that is. But we didn't have a T6 machine anywhere close to us. The closest one, we're in Iowa, or at least I'm in Iowa, and Dan is in Minnesota, which is right in the middle of the U.S. And we're both. I am at, I want to say 5 hours away from Chicago, and he is probably 6 or 7 away from Chicago, and that was the closest machine to us. So, or at least it was for me. I don't think they.
So basically, you're saying you guys were too lazy to go and play it.
No, I actually did.
I'm just kidding.
I actually did play at the T6 machine that was in Chicago a couple times, but yeah, that trip gets a little tedious after a while. But it's just one of those things where, I don't know if you guys, because I don't think that they had the PS2 ports, right? That was the only thing that seemed to bring the console players out when T5 was out. It's oh my God, we have these console ports. We can bring our own controllers and shit. But I don't think T6 had that, did it? Did you guys have one around you? I don't know.
We actually had that for DR. I mean, you could do it. You could because I think what we probably could have done it, but for some reason it didn't actually we put console ports in for DR, and people didn't actually use them all that much. So I don't think we could be bothered to do it for T6, because we actually had our main T6 machine that we used, because the one that wasn't, because we had another one, but it was stupidly expensive. It was £1. It was £1 ago, which I don't know what the exchange rate is. I'm pounds and dollars at the moment. But
I'm fairly certain that'd be $10.
yeah, basically.
It's I definitely know that £1 is worth more than $1. That's for sure. But that's how DR was like that for us too. The prick who owned the arcade near us had it at $1 a play. I was like, what the fuck? No, you need to tone that down, or no one's gonna play that shit.
Well, that's the thing. When the arcades die, like in this kind of accelerated like the decline of arcades in the Western world. Is that when they started dying, there was a certain like hardcore who would, there was the hardcore gamers who would always go to the arcade, the people who really wanted that arcade experience, and the people who, so the people who ran the arcades just thought, fuck it, up the price. These guys are coming no matter what happens. So you get to the point where, arcades are stupidly expensive.
And it all depends on what you do too, because like I remember, like fighting games are one of those things where it's really, really bad for all of your potential customers to increase the price of that because matches go so quickly. Like you can put $1 into a DDR machine and still spend 10
exactly.
Hits on it.
Yeah.
But I mean, especially if you're like new and you don't know what you're doing and
exactly
get mopped up in Tekken, it lasts 60 seconds.
Yeah, in a competitive game, you're not going to want to like go there and spend like £1 against, like I said, the hardcore guy who's gone to the arcade. He's been going to the arcade for years and he already knows everything about. He's already a badass at Tekken. He's just gonna beat the shit out of you, and you spent like £1 or $1.
I had some salty folks when T5 was out because we would the closest arcade to us was actually in a nearby city. I would want to say like 30, 40 minutes away, and it's a college town. And at the time, I was going to school there. So between like classes, if I had like an hour or so to kill and I didn't have anything to do, I'd just go to the arcade and just usually, it's in the middle of the day, so nobody's playing. But every once in a while, you'd have somebody sit down. It's like, okay, 30 seconds, get the fuck off my machine. Now go away. But maybe that's my fault for killing the scene there. Who knows? But whatever.
Yeah, now they know. Now they know what killed arcades in America. You.
Yeah, our good players went and sat down. I mean, I guess we have those little exceptions every so often. Because I know, like Southern California, in the Los Angeles area, I know that they have an arcade or two that still does pretty well, but very, very few and far between now.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, it was like I'd say. I mean, because, back in the 90s, it cost, a quarter for to play in that.
A single token.
Yes. And it cost like 20p, 20 pence in the UK. And now it costs, I think I've heard of places in America that charge just like $1.50, $2 for a game of T6 when it first came out. Something retarded like that.
That's sick.
And and it's £1 here. It's 5 times more expensive. That's not inflation. That's madness. Like,
I think that has a lot to do with like arcade managers not exactly knowing how to manage their own expenses and stuff. Because like you figure like back in the day, every arcade used tokens. You put your money into a machine, then it popped out a bunch of these shitty little. God, I don't even know. They weren't plastic, but they certainly weren't real metal. Whatever they were, these shitty little tokens, and you use that, and that's a really good money maker because some people aren't going to use them all. So
yep, you have to come back.
Yeah, exactly. But like they just lost that art, and now you have people that charge like $30 entry fee into your shitty gaming place, and then you have to pay for the machine on top of that. It just gets ridiculous. Because the T6 machine that I played that was in Chicago, that it was at a GameWorks arcade, and that's how that works. You pay an entry fee to get into the place, and then you have to pay more to play the game.
Nice.
It was sick. I just played a couple games, I was done. I'm done with this shit. So busted.
Literally out of money.
IRL hacks,
Yep. So yeah, nowadays it seems it's like most of the scene kind of comes from most of the scene has to come from basically online players. That's where the new players are going to be coming from, and that's you kind of have to make your games. And I think that generally, like the fighting games that are coming out now have been. Well, one of the reasons why fighting games in general have struggled is that fighting games are really hard. Like,
Oh yeah.
like they're really fucking hard to play. Like, if you look at, you know, it's like, and the example I always use is you can teach a girl to play a shooting game. Like, you know, it's like at the highest levels, yeah, exactly. At the highest levels, you know, I'm sure Quake and Counter-Strike and all that kind of thing, you know, you need to be really good. You need fast reflexes, you need good reads, all that kind of
For
stuff.
the most part, the gameplay is simple.
Yeah. It's just, you know, you can literally say, look, here's up, here's down. You know, it all corresponds to things you'd think would happen.
Press the button to shoot.
You know, press the button to shoot, press the other button to maybe open doors if it's a really complicated one. You know, like switch between your weapon. You know, you can pick it up in seconds, the basics. But like fighting games is like, you know, pressing this button will do this. Pressing it in conjunction with something else will do this. Pressing in conjunction with something else will do this.
And then you start moving, and then you
start
get something
moving
else.
Yeah. Like, this is to move forward, and you can dash forward, and you can run, and you can backdash, and you can cancel your backdash, and you can sidestep, and you can sidewalk. And, you know, and it's so freaking complicated. Like, and essentially I think that fighting games now are making themselves a bit more simple and accessible to be able to desperately try and compete with the fact that people try them and are instantly repelled by how incredibly difficult they are.
Yeah, and I think Tekken especially suffers from that because every character has a billion moves. And I think that, and I've talked with Dan about this, you know, and there's so many people out there who are like, oh my God, we need more characters, you know, the bigger the cast list, the better. I'm actually the exact opposite. I think you need to dumb it down. The more characters you have, the crazier shit gets. And, like, it makes sense in, like, I don't know, like, I guess Street Fighter is sort of a game it can make sense in, and Mortal Kombat. You know, everybody has their cookie-cutter stuff, so it doesn't get crazy. Everybody only has, like, you know, 15 moves, and then you know, that's it. But, you know, with Tekken, everybody has their stances. You know, you have these strings where properties change, and it just gets really, really crazy. But,
yep, there's like a million moves for every character, like all like pretty unforgiving damage.
And I've run into people with Tekken where, like, in Street Fighter you play online or something, and your average scrub, they get beat. Even if they get beat down, they're like, oh, okay, it was a fluke. It happens in Tekken, they're like, this fucking game sucks. This game is retarded. They just have no idea what's going on.
The thing is with Tekken is that it both has like a shitload of moves. It's really hard to learn. There's like a fairly high technical ceiling, but like one of the biggest things about it is that it's kind of a really analog game. It's like, because this is like my Tekken versus Virtua Fighter thing. Like, Virtua Fighter is a very digital game. It's very like, if I do this move at this frame advantage, it'll beat your move at that frame advantage. You know, and it's very much like this kind of elaborate system of kind of checks and balances. You know, where one move will beat another, which will beat another, you know, kind of A versus B versus C, you know, very complicated. Tekken isn't like that at all. Like, it's just, you know, this move will beat that, but then sometimes it'll just beat that other move. You know, this move will track sidestep, but, you know, if you're already slightly off axis, then you can walk around it. You know, there's lots of things where you're like, there's lots of situations where you can learn how to do it, but only through, it's basically something you can only learn through playing the game a lot and basically getting beaten horribly.
Yeah,
like
I played a little bit of Evo for Virtua Fighter, but I guess I'm not too in depth on it. But like, it always seems like the 3D aspect like really starts to confuse people, because you have a lot of those situations where, oh, you're just slightly off axis, so that's not going to work anymore. Whereas with 2Ds, it's just a distance thing. You're like, okay, I'm at this distance, that won't hit, I get it. But
yeah,
a lot of people have problems grasping that.
Yeah, I mean things like VF is kind of like, this move will always track sidestep in that direction. This move will always track sidestep in that direction. Lots of homing moves, homing grabs. It's kind of very much like like I said, it's digital. It's kind of like this, and it's basically designed to be like that, and it's a great game. Tekken's like is much more fluid. It's much more kind of. You can find weird uses for moves that you wouldn't necessarily have thought. You can sidestep moves that you didn't think were sidesteppable because it's just hitbox interactions, and you can know that there's a situation where I can actually sidestep further due to the position we're up against in the wall or something like that. So it's a game that you have to play a lot to be good at it. Like, you can't... It's like if someone asked me what I was doing, if someone asks you what they're doing wrong in, like, I'd guess a Virtua Fighter match, you could say, well, if you see that time when you did an elbow, then you tried to do a crouch jab, the other guy crushed your crouch jab with an elbow, and then you did a throw mix-up on you. Like, there's been so many times when someone's asked me, what am I doing wrong in Tekken? And I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. It's like, you're just sucking.
Yeah.
Like, you just need to play more. Like, it's a game where it's really hard to articulate what people are doing wrong a lot of the time.
Yeah, I've noticed that usually you can only like generalize it. Well, you should probably start doing more of this, less of this, but maybe not. Maybe
exactly.
Get into this situation where it's okay. But that is one thing that's kind of weird about Tekken. It's always been interesting to me, and one of the things that I like about Tekken, but something that kind of turns newer players off, is that there's, no matter how shitty a move is, there's usually a use for it somewhere. Whereas in certain other games, if a move is shitty, it's shitty. Like, just don't ever use it. It's never going to be good, ever, in any situation. But in Tekken, because you have those off-axis and the weird spacing stuff that can happen, the crush system, which even throws huge wrenches in games, but just crazy shit happens. You're like, what the how did your banana peel hit me when I'm in the air? I don't get it. But
it is absolutely one of the worst games you can play for getting better at it on your own.
Yeah.
Like,
for sure.
One of the worst. It's one of the ones where you absolutely need to play people. And it's also one of the worst, like, it's one of the ones that suffers the most from... It's also, unfortunately, it's one of the ones that suffers the most from online play. Because, like, Virtua Fighter is not based around, reflexes as much as Tekken is. It's got, big fat buffer windows for everything you can do, so, hitting things is very much a case of, making lots of educated guesses.
Yeah.
Whereas Tekken, a lot of it's about reflexes. And so basically you have a game which... Basically you kind of have a game which which doesn't really work that well online. And you can't practice by yourself to get better at.
Yeah, that's one thing that people always bitch about is, the training mode is kind of... it's
and the training
better.
Sucks.
Yeah, it's better than it has been, but it's still shitty. So...
I thought Tekken 6 training mode was terrible because they took out the record function.
Yeah.
Oh, that was appalling.
Yeah, everybody... I don't know why they did that. I just don't get it.
Yeah, that was abominable. It doesn't... Yeah, that's the other thing about... The other thing that, the other ridiculous thing about... Possibly the most ridiculous thing about fighting games nowadays is that they don't have... They don't have tutorials.
That's one thing that of all the games, the fighting games that need it.
All kinds of games. You will get first-person shooters. Almost every first-person shooter has a tutorial level. Where you'll walk through it, and you'll pick up a gun, and it'll say, click the left mouse button, or press Y to fire, press this to jump, press something else to duck. Things that you could find out by playing yourself for 5 seconds. A fighting game just every single fighting game dumps you right into this Byzantine mass of interlocking systems, and all it's got is this one in the loading screens it'll say press punch and kick. Press left punch and left kick, or right punch and right kick to throw the other person.
Oh, man.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah, that cracks me up every time. Because Tekken has, I mean, if you don't have it loaded onto your PS3, like, it can take forever between loading screens. Those always fucking make me laugh. But of all the games to not have a training mode, it just blows my mind that Tekken hasn't done something with it. Like,
it's just retarded. I mean, and it must be transmitting into sales. I mean, because...
Well, I think Namco is getting their money off of, like, all these campaign modes and shit and all this other stuff. Because I don't think, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think, like, Street Fighter has a campaign mode like that or anything. So
the thing is, like, whenever a Tekken comes out, you know, if you look at reviews in the gaming magazines, no matter how good the gaming magazine is, you know, how well respected, like Edge or something, you know, the review will be like, you know, this game is a lot of fun, but... You know, it is kind of, it's still pretty much, you know, a button masher where you can get good results just by, you know, these guys, I mean, and the thing is that it's not these guys' fault, they don't know shit about it. You know, it takes ridiculous amounts of time to get good at these games, but it's not like, the thing is, it's not like Street Fighter. Like, they'll give good reviews to Street Fighter, they'll say that's a great game, you know, because they played it themselves in arcades when they were a kid. Yeah. And B, because it's not terribly complicated to, like, the guesses behind it. You can have, like, simple mind games that will, simple satisfying mind games at, like, a scrubby level, you know, Fireball, Dragon Punch.
Yeah.
VF gets amazing reviews because basically, like, VF4 and EVO had really comprehensive training modes.
Oh, I love the training modes in Virtua Fighter. They're so good.
Yeah. And they basically taught those. They told the reviewers, like, you know, this is what works in VF. This is how these things, you know, this is how, you know, this happens when you do this. If you do you can do an attack and then you can dodge. You can do an attack, then you can dodge, and then you can break throws. You know, all this kind of thing. They explained the whole thing, and you know. Ever since then, VF gets great reviews. They say, you know, this is a fantastic game. It's really deep, because the training modes told them where the depth was coming from. It showed them what to do, and then it showed them match videos, and you know, Tekken just dumps you in there. Assumes you must love the game already.
Yeah, I know that they.
You either love the game, or you're just gonna want to headbutt the buttons while you're playing Eddie or something, you know.
Or while wrong, one of the two.
Yep.
But I heard some talk that they were trying to get a training mode in the Tekken Tag 2. Hopefully that happens, because people need to learn how to play the fucking game.
I think that's the thing. I know for a fact that would make, like, the competitive scene absolutely explode. Just if you had a detailed training mode which, like, took you to, you know, it showed you Mishimas, and it was like, this is a wave dash. You can do wave dash into electric. You can do wave dash into hell sweep. You can do wave dash into while standing too. You know, and it didn't just give you like 2 sample combos and then dump you into the game and expect you to not be slaughtered.
Yeah, and I think that would make it a lot more fun for a lot more players, just because there's a lot of people who can do really, really hard techniques and, you know, real technical players out there, but they may not have the mind, like the strategic mind to play the game. You know, and be able to make quick decisions and stuff like that. So maybe they wouldn't be the best at Tekken, but if you tell them, oh, hey, you can do all this really cool shit, then they'd probably be more apt to play it. But
yeah, definitely. I mean, and you know, I mean, and the thing is that any scene needs scrubs.
Oh yeah, they all do.
They are the bottom of kind of the food chain of the, you know, they're the bottom of the food pyramid. You need a shitload of scrubs, and then above the scrubs you'll get a whole bunch of decent players, of, you know, well, sort of okay players, and then you get the decent players, and then you'll get the good players, and then right at the top you'll get like the top players.
And maybe a scene will have 1 or 2.
Yeah, maybe. And you know, and it's completely like luck.
Pretty much, yeah.
You might just have a million scrubs.
Well, what I thought was really stupid is, like, this is just a random example, but like up in Minnesota, the 2D scene is doing pretty good up there right now. They got a bunch of Marvel players, a bunch of Street Fighter players, but like their top 2 players, and you know, I'm sure this kind of moves around a bunch. There's other good players up there too, but the top 2, they're brothers. They fucking play each other all the time. Like, that is not fair. Like, you live with each other.
Yeah.
that's not even fair.
Well, that's kind of for me, that's kind of how I think that, because most of the top players and most of the good players in Tekken at the moment come from, basically come from the old days, the days when there were arcades around, or from, the kind of Tekken 5, at the latest, kind of the Tekken 5 boom, which is when, it came back and it became like, all the people turned off by Tekken 4 came back, and there was a kind of a big explosion. And I think that the people who are going to be good now are going to be people like that, people who have, talented people who have someone who is also talented to play with all the time. Like if you've got a decent roommate,
yeah,
or your brother, yeah, because I can think of there's a couple of examples in European Tekken where people have come out of nowhere and been really surprisingly good, and it's been and they've been brothers. It was like Devil and Matt in Poland, and the Emperor and whatever the hell his name is in, wait a minute, also Poland.
Well, yeah.
Poland.
I remember
back
in the tag days, here in the States, it was all about STL. STL they just ran trains on everybody, and kind of out of Slips is, a real big name in the community, and he has a cousin where most people know him now. His board name is Shin. But at the time, back then, he really wasn't a big name. Nobody really knew him. He didn't post any. I mean, he still really doesn't post a whole bunch. But, it's just one of those things that he comes out of nowhere. It just, destroys people with chains. It's well, yeah, he plays Brad all the time. So, of course he's going to know how to play fucking Julia and Michelle.
Yep. Just learn the cheap shit.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's like if you got two people and you're both and they're both naturally good, they both got good at guessing, good at reading. You just sit there bouncing off each other the whole time, and you can get up to a pretty good level. I mean, there's still a decent chance you might get randomed out by someone, but...
Oh, well, that's kind of going back to the whole cast thing that I was talking about. Especially with there's certain games, like Street Fighter and stuff, where you can kind of you can fare okay because even if you don't know a character, because the mix-ups are going to be about the same. But you can't do that in Tekken. There's just so much gimmicky shit with random low-tier characters. Ugh.
Well, the thing that my kind of thing about this Tekken is that I really like it as an arcade game. I don't much like it as a tournament game. I think as an arcade game, it's awesome because, well, it's good, really good, because it's and that's the kind of ironic thing because arcades are dead now. But it's an awesome arcade game because, kind of all the characters are competitive. Well, most of the characters are competitive. There aren't really big gaps between the tiers.
Oh yeah, we talk about that all the time. We're really nitpicky on this podcast, but pretty much every character can compete. I mean, you can have your arguments for a couple characters that you're okay, they're just really shitty, but even those I usually take with a grain of salt.
I'd say the worst, the hardest, the character, Kuma's probably, I think the worst, but, he's,
he hates on
and he's pretty bad, and he's really bad, but it's not impossible for him to win. It's not like one of these games where you're literally, I heard, Ryan Hart, recently, he had a Facebook post where he was saying that, in Street Fighter Anniversary Edition, Daigo says he's never lost a game to Dalsim with Yun. He's never lost a single game.
Wow.
And, Kuma isn't that bad. His worst matchups are not, he's not never going to win. It's just a bit unlikely. So, it's basically, and, there's things Japan has people who's got up to, Tekken God rank with, Hwoarang and Lei. And those characters suck. Because, but that's the thing. But those players are really good, and they've managed to and in a kind of arcade situation, you can play someone in a long set in order to rank up against them, and the differences in how good your character are will kind of start to fade away, and your mindset will start to kind of dominate. But so as an arcade game, it works really well because you've got so many different characters and so many different kind of styles of play and all that kind of thing. As a tournament game, it's quite random and it has really high damage.
Yeah.
And these two things are kind of killers for tournament games. They can make them exciting to watch, but also quite annoying to compete.
Yeah, case in point, Marvel. That fucking game is the most random.
Yeah.
Ugh, hate that game. I rant on that game so much. I hate it. Hate it.
I find it hilarious, but only because I've never played it.
We picked it up around here for like the first month, and then the last monthly that I threw here in town, that was it. That was my last tournament with Marvel. I was like, because I picked up MK, I was like, okay, I need a new game that isn't Marvel because I hate this game. So I just picked up Mortal Kombat. I was like, okay, this is really easy. I can't die in one combo, so I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with this. But I did want to ask you about Tekken Tag 2 before I forget. So all the changes, like, have you been watching the videos and stuff? What do you think about the changes that you see so far in Bryan? I mean, granted, everything could change before it comes out, but
the thing is, I guess everything probably will change. The thing with Bryan is that he's always really awesome. He's like, well, okay, apart from like Tekken 3 and Tekken Tag, kind of, and okay, Tekken 4, but basically since Tekken 5, it's just always been like
for 2 games, he's been really awesome.
Yeah. Well, kind of 4 if you count like 5.0 DR. 6.0, you know, he's always, like, they always take away stuff and they always give him stuff. At the moment, it kind of looks like they've just taken away stuff.
Yeah, I know.
He doesn't seem to have anything. Yeah, Taunt doesn't, like, track very well. Like, all his primary pokes appear to have been nerfed in some way. Soccer kick is nerfed. He seems to be quite badly nerfed, and they don't appear to have given him much in compensation. I still think he'll even with these changes, I still think he'll be usable. You know, he still looks like he's one of these characters where he has so much good shit that
it's hard to nerf all of it.
Yeah, he's still got a bunch of good stuff. He's definitely not bottom tier, that's for sure. He's not. Whatever happens, he's still gonna rape the shit out of like Kuma. As long as he's still got like back one and flying kick, and like big characters are still going to struggle. So yeah, I still think he's not looking great, but he's not looking useless. Like and I suspect that they'll probably buff him up again. They'll probably buff him before the final release, just because.
Probably. Well, that's what always happens.
They just seem to love him
with these fucking betas. You know, the broken ass characters always get super nerfed. You know, Dan was ranting on it last podcast we had because right now it's all about Yoshi and Craig, and those characters, don't even worry about them, people. Those characters are gonna get fucking slashed.
Yep. Yep.
Everything's good.
No way.
Now it's going to make it into the final version.
Yeah. Every Yoshi player who picked him at those beta tests is going to be kicking themselves for making him.
Probably not.
They're going to rape the shit of him.
They're probably all like, okay, I'm going to make this character look really good, so he's super shitty.
Yep.
Oh man, too fucking funny. Well, I think we have to start wrapping up here. We've gone up for a while, and I do have to work, unfortunately, but we have been ending our podcast with little special segments we call Sound Off. So I want to throw this at you. Everyone has something that makes them mad, that pisses them off, and I want to know what it is. So I'm going to give you an open forum, something that just like gets you heated, and go on.
Is this regarding Tekken or just in general?
Whatever you want to rant on.
Ooh,
I know it opens the door, like stuff from your childhood you completely forgot about.
Damn it, I just can't think of anything off the top of my head. There should be something I'm really annoyed about.
Think of the last time you were at a tournament and something that just got you mad.
I don't know, just mashing in Tekken. Like, just like the whole gameplay style of like getting up in someone's face and just hitting buttons until they die. Like, I just hate it. I hate it so much. I think it's kind of it's in Tekken 6 a bit too much. You can kind of just, there's certain characters, certain play styles where you can just kind of get up in someone's face, hit, like, do poke, kind of, and then you can just kind of play Tekken 4 with them. Just like, poke, sidewalk, poke, 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 sidewalk. Yeah, that'd be it. That's all I can think of. I'm sure there's something I'm gonna kick myself for forgetting.
Well, we do have a thread on TZ, so you can always post in later and be like, oh, I really actually hate this instead.
Yeah, I'll bring the hate to the thread.
Oh, we've already had USMC Ogre in there, so hate has been brought in.
I need to listen to that one. I heard it was like quite epically.
Well, it's really, I don't know if we'll ever top that, because we had to call him because he was on his way home and he's in LA traffic.
Oh, he was actually
in traffic the whole time. So yeah, there was a lot of rage on that episode, but that's how it goes. That's how it makes things interesting, So, well, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast. I'm sad that Dan couldn't join us and enjoy this. I don't know what the fuck he's doing, but I think he's out of town or something. But he's a lame ass. I'm calling him out on our own podcast because he needs to actually show up. But
yeah.
But anyway, thanks.
People who are late for shit and don't turn up for it. Maybe that's what.
Yeah.
Maybe
that's what I hate.
Yeah, see, don't you ever want to rant on the podcast?
Oh, I do all the time. He actually tricks me because every time it's just us, I always ask him, okay, whose turn is it? And he's like, oh, I think it's your turn. And I'm like, oh, because I can't remember who did the last one. So
it's always
it's always, that's okay. I have plenty of stuff that I'm mad about, so I'm all right. But well, thanks again for coming on the podcast. Hopefully, when Tag 2 comes out, we can get you on again. Hopefully, the scenes everywhere will be bigger, so we'll have more to talk about. And yeah, that's it. Any final words before we cut it off?
Nothing I can really think of. But yeah, it's been great. Been really fun, and yeah, I look forward to it going on.
Awesome. All right, kids. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Strat Corner Podcast, and we hope you learned something. Have a good one.